Today we're going to update the Squad Busters tier list with the new Transformers heroes. That's Optimus Prime and Elita-1. And although you might have some of these units at the ultimate tier, I'm going to try to keep this list more relatable by not ranking the ultimate form of these units. We're going to do either 4-star for everything, or in the case of the Transformers units, they're going to be at 3 stars. So if you happen to have one unit that is at the ultimate tier, then just keep in mind that it probably is slightly higher than it would have been otherwise in this tier list. So with all that said, let's talk a little bit about how it is that I do these rankings. And if you're subscribed to the channel, you know, first of all, you can consider using code Chisgule in the shop to support my channel, but also that I like to use from Magic the Gathering, Marshall Sutcliffe's way of evaluating drafts, and it's called the quadrant theory. There are 4 parts of a game where you're drafting that picking a unit could be good. When you are at the start of the game, if you are losing, if you are winning, or if things are even. When you draft a unit, which quadrant does it generally fall into as its strongest suit? And the Optimus Prime is so insanely versatile and powerful. He's amazing at the start of the game when you're building up because it makes your squad unapproachably strong. He is the highest health unit in the game when fused with, if I'm understanding correctly, more health than a tree giant, which is disgusting. Okay, so Optimus Prime is great when you're building up. He's outstanding when you're losing because he actually might keep you alive long enough to get to like another box and continue to squad up. If you're winning, you are unapproachably difficult to hit, and if things are even, it can tip things in your favor. He transforms the squad, and there are very, very, very few units I would truly put in S tier, but the more I use Optimus Prime, the more I realize that just throw a Prime in the squad and you just hit different. I'm gonna put him all the way up at S. Now, we could adjust that based on other changes we make, but that's where I'm gonna start him for now. Let's compare that, however, to Elita-1. And Elita-1 is not as good as I was hoping she would be. And the reason is that she's, in my opinion, very much a win more, and she helps preserve turbo, which is insane, but you generally only get Elita-1 in, at best, the last 60 seconds of a match. She's actually most suited when you're in the development stage. And the reason that I say that is that over the course of the match, she'll be saving you incremental amounts of turbo. And over the course of a long match, that's a big deal. In the last 60 seconds, I mean, yeah, it matters, but you might already have blasted through a lot of turbo getting to that point. So unless you've saved your turbo or have a hog or, you know, are very much ready to draft that Elita-1 into your squad, which may not even show up as an option, I don't know, man. I think I would put her, however, at the A tier. I think she is a really kind of like a speedster more than a ranged attacker, but she does get the attacker designation and she does do pretty darn good DPS. And having more turbo, hey, look, I love some speedsters, but I would not say she is as transformative as the units that we have at the S tier. Now, with that said, have things changed? We need to move some units around. And first of all, Dynamite has been buffed. Dynamite, before I had him in the D tier, and there's a lot of reasons why. He had low health, he had slow hitting AoE, enemies could just walk away from where it was gonna go, but he hits a lot harder now, and I think, without even thinking, okay, about where he's gonna go next, we could easily bump him up to the front of C. Could we bump him up to the B tier, however, is a maybe. There's maybe another adjustment I wanna make first before we do that. And that is that the battle healer, I think, is looking very, very, very good as a healer these days. I wanna bump the battle healer up to the A tier as the sort of best, second to Prime, but kind of one of the better healers in the game. And the reason that Battle Healer doesn't rank better is that she kind of sucks early. Her DPS is way, way too low. And I actually, in watching Classy, observed him say, yeah, Penny's really good at the start of the match because she can 2-hit the blue box. I was like, oh, yes, compared to the Battle Healer, who's like 5 or 6 hits. Like, it's just too little DPS at the start of the match to get the coins, to get the squad ups going. I actually have had the same problem with the Bandit. I wouldn't change the Bandit's rank at a B because the Bandit is very, very vulnerable. It's one of those units you absolutely must fuse or it's gonna pop and then you're gonna lose all those gems you earned anyways. So like, why? So I'm not a huge fan of ranking the bandit highly. I do think if it's in the draft, you kind of have to take it, okay? So with that said, I've also found that in matches, especially recently, especially given the Unicron mods, that I want to bump down the Greg and I want to bump down the Mavis, which might seem kind of crazy, but I'm just finding that people are getting better at understanding, hey, I'm going to harvest these carrots. I'm going to harvest these trees. There's less to go around, okay? And also, I think there's more sources of PvE value, especially with like the lava world, that I am first picking them less, but I am still very inclined to first pick a Greg or a Mavis if my other options are things like Barbarian or even the Archer, okay? All of those units are really great, but I think this reflects a better understanding of reality. And the only reason I wouldn't rank Max or Leon higher is that I find with Max especially, if you don't have a healer, you're just gonna, like, you first pick it and like, yeah, it's a Max, that's amazing. She's just gonna die. She's just gonna lose health over time and then she's gonna pop unless you get healing urgently. Same is sort of true with your Leon here. Obviously not the case with the battle healer, but other units that I want to start the match with, and it's so good that, like, yes, these are A's, is the Jessie. The turrets are insane at the start. The Mortis is better than ever since they removed the consumables, and I know this was a while ago at this point, but Mortis is like way better than he used to be, making your squad super thick in a way that it just really protects the whole team. Yeah, I think that swap looks really, really good, having him all the way up at A, which, you know, I was at one point debating would I bump him down, but no. He chills at A. And the only reason Leon kind of stays where he is that actually invisibility got buffed, and now you can proper ambush somebody. And it's possible that could be S tier, but I'm finding it's probably A tier. Like, it doesn't consistently get you that situation. But if you're good enough, you can go create an insane situation. Whereas, for example, a BK with a super rage spell, it ain't hard to find the situations where you can do some disgusting things with that. So this means if we go from bottom to top, we've got Dr. T, the Royale King and Bow at the F tier. And I just want to give these units a shout out for the Unicron game mod where these are not F tier. Like, they perform. They are so good in that game mod. I don't think I really want to move this list around too much based on that mod, which is going to forever disappear within a week of this video, but they do work over there, man. Similarly, the Goblin is insane in that game mod because you rush to the middle and hopefully you'll get coins, but you might not, and you need to squad up urgently as soon as you get there. So Goblin is like amazing in that game mod. Even the Medic is amazing in that game mod, giving you passive healing the entire time. And one person left a comment on my Medic video because I have the Medic at the ultimate tier. I got very lucky. And I just want to show you, okay? I just want to show you this comment because I thought it was so insightful, comparing the different ways you can get healing. All right, so this message was from Corpus Greed. They left the comment on my video and I thought it was very insightful. He says, I like the Medic. People say he's the worst healer, and while it may be kind of not wrong, often people don't understand why. While yes, there are lots of other heal sources, you don't really understand exactly how most of them work. For example, Pam. She is an okay healer, but her use is active healing during battle. You open a chest, her heal station is deployed, the enemy, now you're in a much better position pursuing a fight. But Pam isn't good outside of that heal station. In fact, she forces you to stay in that little heal circle, which is bad. You can't go fight a monster or collect resources because you have to stay here. And I agree to some extent, like, it creates hotspots that when you're in them, whoo, good luck to your enemy, but also good luck to you when you leave your hotspot. Another example is Greg and Mavis. Do they heal you? Yes. Mavis, she heals a lot? Yes. But when you are in Squad League, everybody has Mavis, which means that often when you need healing, all carrot patches are empty. Same goes for Greg, but his healing isn't even that great to begin with. The last one is the battle healer. She's a very mid healer. When each chest costs 50, her healing is so hard to get. But I don't say that she's bad. Oh no, quite the opposite. Battle Healer is a good, but again, for battle. It's in her name. You pick her because she gives squishy units more hit points. But the Medic is the definition of it ain't much, but it's honest work. He doesn't heal a lot, but he always heals. He doesn't need coins, he doesn't need carrot patches, he doesn't need trees, and he doesn't force you to stay in one place. He just heals you. And that, I think, is the beauty of the medic that people probably don't understand, is that you feel like he's a lot worse than he probably is because you just don't see the spectacular effect all at once like you do with some of these other units. I'd still leave him at D, but I really like that breakdown of all the different healers, and I thought it was so insightful that, like, yeah, I wanted to read it to you, okay? And as my subscribers know, I'm opening up a star chest in every single video I publish until all my units get to ultimate, and at some point, this is gonna really start costing me. But anyways, let's open up today's star chest, which, by the way, I am guaranteed an ultra or better in this poll. So this is going to be 4 stars, and if we're lucky, this is 5 stars. Oh God, I'm anxious. Here we go. Come on, baby. Tap, tap, tap. Come on. Oh, come on. I don't think this is 5. Colt. Well, I feel like I deserved better. But here we are. Ultra Colt. Hooray! Now this brings us to the next tier, the minor. Minor obviously is much better than a C if you have lots of turbo. And in the maps where there's lots of turbo, he's disgusting. Okay, but the rest of the time, he's just fine. Okay, and he's one of those units where, like, not really gonna help you if you're losing. It ain't it. And I don't like units that can't help you as much when you're losing, because that's the situation I kind of want to optimize. The path to not be losing and the path to not losing if I am losing. Right? Like, and BK does that so perfectly. He's like the perfect example of, like, hey, you rage up and anything's possible. Anything is possible. The Penny, also very, very swingy. The Nita, very ambushable. In the back, like, the bear is good, but I don't know. Now, what's interesting here is Colt. I am, like, actually kind of tempted to bump up the Colt and bump up the chicken. And those are units I often like to start with, but they also are huge liabilities. The Colt is a liability for his low health, and he sits in the back, and then he gets popped and you lose a ton of gems, and that sucks. The chicken is a liability because if you don't fuse it, much like the bandit, he's gonna charge in like a bozo and get himself killed. So, suicidal chicken. We'll leave him at a C. The Wiz, I love the extra spell slot, and in all the units that I think are mid to bad are just amazing in Unicron attacks, but I think we leave him at the C, okay? Because there are situations where I'm like, yeah, you can take it or leave it. Dinah and B are the ones that have me kind of head scratching, but I think they're also in that category of really squishy if you don't fuse them. So I'm going to leave them at C and B. I think that the B is better than a Dynamite. I think that the Dynamite just requires less work to get up and running, and that's kind of the difference between them. So I'm going to leave them there. The other reason I want to leave them there is that I don't want this whole tier list to be like, everything's an S, GG. I'm like, I mean, is Dr. T deserving of his F? Probably. But, like, I want there to be a banding that's relatively even, like you see on this graph. A nice little curve here from, you know, units that are the best to the middle tier to the lowest tier. So I think this accomplishes that. And again, the Greg and the Mavis are amazing at the start of a match, but you wouldn't want to get really toward the end of the match. I've been very disappointed when I go and do that. You really want much more powerful units, ideally by that point, rare or better. And even the Bandit, what a weird one. I mean, you'd think because it's all about getting gems when you bust stuff that you want it at the very start of the match, but you don't. Starting with Bandit, I find sucks. And I've done very poorly when I start with Bandit compared to other units that either have some sort of self-sustain, like a Shelly or a Barb, right? Or I don't know. It just ain't it. It ain't it. I think this is good. I'm actually very happy with this list, exactly as it is. But leave your thoughts down below in the comments. What do you think? What would you change around? I'm sure there are things you would adjust, and we'll also all get a better sense of what reality really is once the Unicron event is gone. And my 2 cents on that one is that I think the Unicron event is adding something really nice to the game. It makes the game way better, in my opinion, when there's lots of PvE stuff to do, because it means that there's more options for everybody other than, like, the ultra sweaty, there's no value left on the map, we're fighting each other but avoiding fighting each other game of chicken. that happens when all the PvE value dries up. I don't like that as much. I think there's something to this mob density, and I hope we see more of it. Of course, if you're looking for more gameplay for Optimus Prime and Elita, cards will be in the end screen, here and here. I've covered them pretty in depth. They've got their own dedicated videos, and the more I study Prime and use Prime, the more I'm like, yeah, he is really good. And I think I may feel that way about Elita, but I'm not there yet. I think she's a win more. Check out the vids. You'll see what I mean.